Out knowing the process to impact your clients and generate the revenue is going to make it very hard for you to help the people that you want to help. A lot of times we try to get out here, we try to help people, and we just want to go into the world and we want to change lives. And we feel like because we got good advice or we've been helping people free for years, that's automatically going to translate into a successful business, and it does not. Listen to me when I tell you, it does not translate if you don't have a specific strategy, if you don't have a system set in place, if you don't have the structure set up in order to impact the people that you can impact, not just one time, but on a recurring basis. And when you're able to have your business set up on a recurring basis where you know you can execute it either with or without you, now you have a recipe for you being able to impact the world. You have a recipe in order to bring recurring clients through the door. You have a recipe where you know when you bring somebody in, they're going to be supported in the way they need to be supported, so you can really help them take them to the next level. So the very first thing was, for the structure piece, I had to get clear on who I was helping, how I was going to help them in terms of my coaching program, and then what was my what my program was. I had to at least get clear on it and put it down on paper. See, a lot of times we have a bunch of different ideas that's floating in our head, but we don't really know, okay, like get clear on who's this person, this type of person that I want to help, or what is at least the general problem that I want to help people with, and then actually get clear on, okay, what is the perfect ideal program that I can put into place and I can structure in order to help them achieve the outcome that they want to achieve. Does that make sense? Make sense in the chat. This is very key because a lot of times we just want to go out. Some of us might just want to go out and just help people with everything because we know so much, and it makes it hard for us to come up with a program to help somebody achieve a specific result. If somebody's going to pay you money, there's specific results that they're looking to achieve. They don't usually come to you to say, I need help with every area of my life. They usually say, there's one or a few areas that I know I need to clean up, because it can be overwhelming trying to do everything for everybody, right? But if there's a few areas that you know that you have superpowers in, and your superpowers in terms of these 1, 2, maybe 3 areas you can really help people in, and then you find people in the world who need the exact things that you can provide in your program, now you have a recipe for having a perfect match for somebody who really feels compelled to want to work with you. Y'all follow what I'm saying? This is so key. I didn't understand this at first. I said I can help people with a million things, but I wasn't clear. So my messaging was off. People weren't really feeling my messaging like that, and I never could understand why. And it was because I wasn't clear on I wasn't clear on who I'm helping in my program. I didn't have that structure. Another thing that's part of structure, once you have that clear, your program, your deliverables, your pricing, who you help, then you really want to focus on, all right, I have to actually build it, right? I have to build it, meaning I know how I want the program, but what's the tech that I need to have? Like, what is the software that I need to have? What are the platforms I need to be on, right? So we got to actually set it up. I like to attribute it to a house. Well, you can create the blueprint to a house, right? That you got the schematics to the house. I know that this house that I want to build on this piece of land right here is supposed to look like this schematic. It's supposed to look like this. However, it's nothing that's been built in the real world. You can't touch it. You can't feel it, right? I don't see nothing happen, right? Right at this point, it's just ideas on a paper. But you got to get to a point where it becomes just structured ideas on a paper to, okay, now let me take it to actually getting the plywood, right? Let me actually get the cement. Let me get the nails, right? So you can actually build the house in real life. So it's the same thing in our businesses, to where now we really got to sign up for the systems. How much does it cost? Okay, right. We got to be on the platforms. Okay, what platform should I be on, right? So it's certain things that we got to really set up. You follow what I'm saying? So that's all under structure. So that's the very first thing. Everybody, right? Now, number 2, the second thing that helped me was this: exposure. Everybody write that down. Exposure. 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 Okay? That's super key. So from an exposure perspective, now it's all about, okay, now that I have it in place, people have to start to discover me. They got to discover me, right? You know, I'm not, you know, an E.T., a Lisa Nichols, a Stormy Wellington, a, you know, Les Brown, right? People are not going to just be coming to me. And even with those folks, they can't just sit back and think they're going to collect millions. They got to have a strategy on how they're going to consistently get exposure to new audiences and continually expose themselves to their existing audience, the people that are on their email list, the people that are all currently following them on their different social media platforms, right? So they got to continue to nurture those people, but then at the same time also have new people discovering them. So we all have that same ability. The challenge that I had when I was trying to get exposure was I wasn't really comfortable with putting myself out there. So I wasn't comfortable with putting myself on video. I would stutter. I was afraid to even, if anybody ever uploaded videos, if you ever uploaded videos on YouTube before, put me. So I remember when I first started uploading videos on YouTube, I was afraid to publish it. So on YouTube, you can put it as unlisted, meaning whoever you send the link to are the only people that can see it. And I'm like, yo, that's clutch. I don't want to make it public because all of these eyes are going to be on it and people are going to be seeing me, right? So I didn't necessarily want to put myself out there. So I said, well, what if I make it unlisted and I could just send it to a couple people, right? As I continue to get my confidence up. So that's literally how I started. Some folks, it's hard for them to see that, like, nah, the way you are, you're extrovert, right? But, you know, the thing was, you know, I wasn't, you know, I had this personality, but I was afraid to show it online based on judgment, based on what people were going to say, what people were going to think about me. You know, like I was the cool guy with the drinks and the bottles and, you know, this, and I used to, you know what I'm saying? And I felt like, oh, I can't do this because this is going to be different than what people know me for. So it was hard for me at first to really be my true authentic self and help people because I didn't know anybody that was doing this. I didn't grow up with entrepreneurs. I didn't grow up with, you know, people who, you know, was doing this, coaches, authors, speakers. I wasn't growing up with none of that, right? So it was a new journey for me. And but what changed was when I started getting coaches. What that allowed me to do was it started giving me permission to be my true authentic self. Not worried about the judgment of other people or the haters or the people that don't support me. I didn't worry about that. I focused more on putting my message out there in the world consistently enough that people will continue to come back. Putting my message out in the world consistently enough where people would tell other people about me and the word of mouth would get up. Starting to put myself out in the world consistently enough that people would start to discover me, and then they say, you know what, Terrell got exactly what I need. He's the guy that can really help me get to my next level. He's the guy that can really help me start my business, that can help me get clear on this mission, or help me achieve my purpose. So that's what I started doing, and I started doing things that would allow me to continuously have the exposure. And then I started being more strategic in terms of how I posted the content. I started being more strategic in terms of my messaging. I started being more strategic about it. And then that started bringing in people more consistently and discovering me more consistently. Right. And by the way, don't ever be afraid to give people like your best content, because it's no different than a trailer to a movie that you want to show the best scenes of the movie to really show and influence people like, yo, the movie is great. Or you give somebody a sample of a dish, you want them to have the best part of the dish, right? So it's the same kind of deal. So then once I started doing these things like longer form trainings and started doing other lead generation activities like running Facebook ads and things of that nature, that started bringing more people into my world. Once more people started coming into my world and requesting to have conversations with me, that is when I started having conversations. These conversations and these appointments started to lead to enrollments into my program. So once I figured that process out and I had it down and now I can do it consistently, that is when things really started to take off because I had a system, I had the process systematized.